Planned Parenthood is trying to act like a small business so that they can score some PPP money from the SBA without paying it back. To quote our president, come on, man. This week on Indie Thinker, I have a great guest, a guy named Seth Gruber. You need to go listen to that episode, rate, share, like, and subscribe, and all that good stuff. Because fantastic episode, great guest. He's a key thought leader in the life movement. And the release of this episode also happens to coincide with a hearing that's taking place right now with the SBA. The SBA is having to testify about money that they've given out, PPP loans that they've given out during this pandemic time to Planned Parenthood. Now, this clearly seems to be a violation of what these funds were intended to be. They're supposed to go to small businesses, not big businesses like Planned Parenthood that has over 16,000 employees. And in this hearing, once again, Rand Paul is stepping up to the plate and dropping logic bombs. Now, I have to pause and stop for a moment and just say, is there a bigger hero right now than Rand Paul for our republic? Now, I know there's people who disagree with his politics and maybe don't even like him personally, like especially his neighbor. Maybe you remember that story. But this man has consistently stood up against Fauci and his hypocrisy, stood up for children by resisting chemical castration for children in Biden's trans assistant health secretary. And here again, he is resisting this small business administration who is supposed to be giving out PPP loans to small businesses, but they are giving out money to Planned Parenthood. So certainly, PPP is a good thing. It helped out a lot of businesses who desperately needed help during this time. But Planned Parenthood does not fit the bill as a small business since it has over 16,000 employees. Now listen, maybe you're not like me and you think Christians should stick their head in the sand and just stick their nose in the Bible and not worry about what's going on in the world. However, I think the Bible demands that we look around and see what's going on in the world. So we need to look at issues like this and at least have discussion about it. So I, for one, think it's important to talk about this stuff. If you don't, then you can go ahead and just move on and go find something else. But I think we need to have a discussion about this, and I found the video interesting in and of itself. So let's dig into that video.
Administrator Guzman, I've sent 2 letters to you signed by 50% of the committee members requesting specific information regarding PPP loans to Planned Parenthood affiliates. We have not gotten a response so far. How many first draw PPP loans have been approved to Planned Parenthood affiliates?
So specifically on specific borrowers, the SBA has not commented on specific borrowers.
Well, I'm asking you. I'm in charge of oversight over your $1 trillion agency, and I'm asking you, how many have been approved?
Well, we don't publicly release that information. And one thing.
So you are in defiance of Congress. You will do what you want, not what Congress wants.
All right, I want to pause real quick right there just to say $1 trillion industry, my gosh, they better be spending their money and spending it wisely, all right? That's a lot of money going to the SBA. The other thing is this, is that Paul interrupts her a little bit, and I want to draw a clear line of distinction. So very often in these hearings, senators and congresspeople don't even allow others to answer. And really what they're doing is not seeking the truth. They're just looking for, viral moments that will get on the news or something. They're looking for that Cory Booker Spartacus moment so that they can create a video and then go back and show their constituents so that they can get reelected. But very often this is not a pursuit of truth and trying to get down to facts. But Rand Paul here is kind of holding this woman's feet to the fire because he wants her to be as honest as possible. So she already said, well, we've provided you a list of individuals who have gotten these loans, but we don't distribute individual information. Well, it's really clear that Paul is not asking for individual information to just distribute it out to the public. He's asking for transparency and accountability, which is his job. He's supposed to do this. So thank God for a person who's willing to actually stand up for the people and fight on our behalf. This is what makes me love what Rand Paul does here. So let's keep on looking at the video.
We have provided you a full listing.
You have not provided us with any listing of Planned Parenthood affiliates who've received money. This is an ongoing problem. The previous administration said it was unlawful. This is a big deal. The previous administration said it was unlawful and told them to return the money. Your administration is now giving them money. This is a legal question. This is a big deal. This isn't something you come to Congress and just say, I'm not going to answer the questions.
Not at all. While I can't discuss specific borrower information, we
no one is stopping you from discussing this. In your written testimony, you discussed an individual recipient. of money through the program. So you are willing to talk about individual recipients. You're just not willing to talk about Planned Parenthood.
Oh, okay. So we're playing hardball. We're getting serious. We actually want to get some honest answers, and we're not going to allow people to lie to us. This is what makes me love this video. All right. So she's obviously using a stall tactic here. We'll figure out later on in the video that she gives Paul these numbers that he's asking for, but did it the day before this hearing. And this is a tactic that is often used by people who want to hide the ball and don't really want to have transparent conversations. They'll wait to the last minute to deliver information so that the people don't really have who are kind of grilling her had the opportunity to really dig into it and look at it. And so this is exactly what happened here. She's just merely stalling and trying to kind of circumvent the process by saying, well, yeah, I sent it in, but maybe you just didn't see it yet. So, all right, so let's keep watching.
So the previous administration said they are a big business. They said give the money back. You're giving money to the people that the small administration said it was illegal to give money to. That is a conundrum. That is a real problem.
All right, so maybe this is pretty self-explanatory, but just in case, what Paul is saying here is that you cannot claim that just because Planned Parenthood has affiliate organizations, that it is not one big business that has 16,000 employees. So what Planned Parenthood is attempting to do is to try to treat all of their individual locations as individual businesses rather than one big conglomerate, one big business. But of course, they can't do that according to SBA guidelines, which is what Paul is saying, is that no, they have to be considered a big business. You can't use this as a loophole to try to get around paying this money back. All right.
Either where there's control of the officers.
But you can see how common sense would dictate that you would put something forward saying that you've now reinterpreted the policy to say Planned Parenthood is no longer a big business, but a small business.
Well,
because you're working in direct contradiction to the previous Small Business Administration that said they are a big business. They went through all the same rules you're listing for me, and they concluded that, yes, Planned Parenthood had direct control over the affiliates, that the policies and the actions were dependent on the national branch, and that they did not meet the definition of a small business. And so you are aware that not only is Planned Parenthood a politically controversial agent, entity, but it's also one that the rest of government has controls on. We have put the Hyde Amendment in for decades to try to prevent taxpayer money from paying for abortion. But now you're going around the Hyde Amendment, giving them money, but then you're also reclassifying them as not a big business, as a small business, but you're not being forthright.
And if I may, I did not say that I'm not judging on the policy specifically with affiliation for a specific borrower, because again, we do not do that. I'm sharing the affiliation rule with you for your guidance. However, we don't. Basically, the borrowers attest to certain eligibility, and the lenders can rely on that attestation. The SBA doesn't directly.
But they were ruled illegal by the Small Business Administration, and you're reversing that policy, and you're saying, "Oh, we don't ever look at this. Somebody else. It's a self-attestation."
All right, so stop right there because this is super interesting. I think Paul actually misses an opportunity, even though he does kind of push back, because I think it's extraordinary that what this woman just said is that when people apply for a PPP loan, that they don't actually have to give anything other than a self-attestation for who they are and what kind of business they are. So they essentially just take whatever anybody says at face value. And then they go with that and then distribute funds based upon what those people say. And they could be totally lying. I mean, this is essentially like saying to Xi Jinping, where did coronavirus come from? And then, I mean, and essentially, this is what the WHO did, is they said, well, we're just taking China's word for it. Oh, okay. Well, that makes sense. You definitely shouldn't question that at all. And the same thing is true of Planned Parenthood. Now, Paul makes a great point. He says they've already been ruled illegal for receiving these funds. They have to pay them back. But the bigger point is this, is why are they allowing them to even get those funds in the first place? Why are they allowing their self-attestation, especially when you know what Planned Parenthood is and what they stand for and what they are as an entity? Why are we allowing them to get away with this? Well, this is essentially what is making Paul hold her feet to the fire. All right, let's watch one last piece of this film.
The point at which SBA would look at that would be at the point of forgiveness. And so that prior, relationship is attestation by the borrower to the lender.
But that's not the way, when I think it was Patrick Kelly, when he testified, he said you had thousands of ones that you had reviewed for honesty and whether or not they had been honest. And there were lists of people that hadn't been. And apparently Planned Parenthood was on the list. They're still on the list. So they're on a list of people illegally getting it. The policy was send it back, and now you're sending them more. You can see how it doesn't make sense to us. So, and then you're unwilling to comment on it, and you're unwilling to give us information. So my conclusion is that you believe you are above the law. And my only conclusion is that we still want the information. We are here for oversight, that our next step would be to subpoena you. But that's a disappointment to me, because when I voted for you, I thought you said you would be transparent, and it looks like you're specifically hiding this information from us.
So the real question at the end of the day is, why is taxpayer money going to fund Planned Parenthood when there are things like the Hyde Amendment? Or is the present administration merely just circumventing the process to fund Planned Parenthood using PPP when they are clearly not a small business? Now, I love the way Paul asked this final question, because it truly seems that he's sincere. He just wants honest answers. He doesn't want to actually have to subpoena Guzman and the SBA to give them the information that they're actually seeking. But the reality is it sure seems like that they are trying to circumvent the system in order to do something that they know they're not supposed to do. And this is why we have senators. Not for cronyism, not for giving money to people that don't deserve it, even though that's what's been going on for so long. We should have a problem with this. We should be outraged by the fact that your money is being taken and given to people that don't deserve it and should not have received it. At the end of the day, if you're a person of conscience, then you must stand up when you see injustice. Not only is the life issue an injustice that must have something done about it, but also the abuse of our taxpayer dollars is something that I believe, Christian or not, we should have enough guts, enough backbone, and enough of a conscience to stand up and say that this is wrong. So we need to be on the lookout, if nothing else. This issue has not been settled, and right now no funds have been forgiven that have been given to Planned Parenthood by the SBA, nor should they be. And if they are, you need to keep an eye out on those senators, congresspeople who lift their voice on this issue. And these are the kind of people that you need to continue to keep in office, because they are fighting for you. And this is what politicians are supposed to do. You can catch brand new episodes of Indie Thinker with Reed Huberman every Monday, and weekly bonus episodes to keep you thinking throughout the week. But you have to subscribe and click the bell to be notified when new episodes drop. If you enjoy this content, make sure to like this video and share it with friends.